back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are keeping completely calm and totally local. And I went local on Saturday. You know, I spent 6 weeks cooped up in a house. I hadn't been to any of my sponsors. I did a whole East Side run for crab cakes and shrimp and icy delights, and I got some pizza at Pizza John's that I was sharing out. And of course, I stopped Stemmers Run and Eastern Boulevard Avenue. I don't know, is it Avenue or Boulevard down there? I think it's Avenue, but they said Boulevard online, so I'll go with Boulevard. We used to say up on the Avenue because I grew up right off Eastern Avenue. My dad took me to Al's Seafood many, many, many times on our way down to the old Giant, and I played some football at Stemmers Run back in the day. And of course, Chad has been my friend for a long, long time. He's sorting crabs. I stopped by on Saturday. I got 2 big fat crab cakes that I destroyed in a fashion that I will not share with him on the internet. And he gave me some shrimp to go, which I worked into some shrimp Veracruz. But the reason I'm wearing my pink, Chad, is as always, you're trying to do a good turn. And I know near and dear to your heart, all cancer patients, with what your dad went through, my wife's been through. But you're doing something with Susan G. Komen this weekend, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about going pink here on Derby weekend and your curbside pickup for crabs and all that you do to benefit Susan G. Komen.
Thank you. Yeah, we are. This time is for my mom who passed away, and my grandma passed away of breast cancer, and we've, worked with them for a while, and we've donated and helped out the fire departments and EMTs. But this was a time that we thought, cancer doesn't stop; it keeps on going, and we thought we could help them. I know donations are down and stuff, so we're doing our Pink Pride this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Giving donation proceeds of everything we do, all weekend. So we get the 10% off as long as you're wearing your pink, you get 10% off when you come by.
Well, I'm going to share this out online, and obviously I'm bringing a chat on for all the businesses, and I've had so many business owners on, and quite frankly, in the early going, I invited you on, and you were too busy doing stuff and getting things organized, and then I came in and saw the store, and, from just the beer and the liquor side and the way your place is set up, it's small, right? So I literally had to wait outside out on Eastern Boulevard, not Avenue, by the way, and it was a beautiful day on the weekend. My mask, my gloves, the whole thing. My wife was around the corner. And I stopped in and got some shrimp to go and some crab cakes to go. A lot of businesses are really struggling, man, and on reputation and where you are. And Robert Irvine came in, and you had just changed everything about your dining room, and you want people in your place. Man, you're a resilient dude, right? And I think for anyone resilient who's had a business and grown a business and had a struggling business, and we've all struggled at different points in our lives, this has brought all of us to our A game. And certainly coming into season for you, I saw you for 10 minutes. Chad, you were sorting crabs. I mean, I almost wanted to take a picture. You got a mask on and you're sorting crabs. It's sort of your natural habitat, right? You're doing things the way you've always done them because this is what we do. You make crabs for people, man.
Yep. I mean, yep, that's what we do. And I mean, we've had plenty of crabs. So we're getting them in Louisiana, Maryland, Virginia, Florida. We're still bringing them in all the time. Still trying to keep up, staying as safe as we can with the pandemic going on. We want to make sure not only, my employees, myself, but all our customers are still safe.
Well, how's it changed your business? I mean, give me a little view of 6 weeks ago, the holy crap moment where you're like, wow, everything's shut down. I'm shut down. Yeah. We're all shut down. What are we going to do? I got crabs coming in. I got crabs on a plane or on a boat or in the back or in bushels or in a truck coming over from the Eastern Shore. That first weekend and that first couple of weeks for everyone, there's been some amazing stories because and you've been through this with your mom, your dad. I mean, your dad passed recently. My mom around the same time, and your dad battled cancer. My wife battled cancer. We've had those moments where life changes in an instant, literally. And I think for everybody, it happened 6-7 weeks ago, right?
That is true. I mean, I sweating bullets, I guess, like everybody else, and we were lucky, I guess, if you could say that we had the carry-out side and packaged goods side, not just the restaurant. We're a little more diversified that way. And
A lot of people
I
weren't,
don't
by
know
the way,
what I
right?
would
I
have
mean,
did if everything was closed.
I had a lot of business owners that had never done carry out before. Like literally, my friends over at CVP. We had Melody on. We were never a carry out business. The whole business was designed to come in. You were a little different, and literally from the beginning, you were designed differently, which was a benefit to you, right?
Yeah, originally we were just back in '74, just a carryout. Not till '83 did the restaurant was built on.
Well, I was coming into your place when I was a kid where it was just you steamed crabs, and my dad wanted them to go, and a lot of places wouldn't make them to go. You remember this when you were a kid. You would always have to say how much is the dine-in price and the carry-out price, and a lot of places would say, we're not carrying out tonight. We only have enough for our restaurant. You have to come in and pay the premium and buy a pitcher of beer and whatnot. And my parents, because I was a kid, it was always take home, and your family was always a take home place. And my mom always loved shrimp too. You know that. I mean, how many pounds of shrimp did you send home from my mom with beer and onions over the years? But my mom loved the shrimp and onions and the shrimp to go, which was different about your place, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we're diversified, and and the carry out that is the savior right now. Being able to at least keep that open, keep almost all of our employees still employed also.
Chad is here. I always try to do your last name, and I've known you, 35 years, and I go ahead and give it to me, and maybe this is the phone call. Look, if I could learn how to say Obafemi Ayabandejo for him, you know what I mean, and I could learn to say Ebu Muliki Mulitalo, and my wife is Polish by birth and now German by by transfusion. I need to learn how to say your last name. So let's work through it phonetically.
Stragowski.
Okay, Chad Stragowski is here. He's my Eastwood Kemosabe and Eastwood Little League guy from the 70s and 80s. He runs Al Seafood. They are doing a pink weekend, hence me rocking out my pink. They're going pink to support Susan G. Komen. I made a mistake the other day, Chad. I promoted you and said you were doing this thing, and I called it the Susan B. Komen because I'm thinking Susan B. Anthony, right? So it's Susan G. Komen. All weekend long, curbside pickup, portion of the sales donated to Susan G. Komen. Show your pink pride. They had pink crabs over there as well. 1551 Eastern Boulevard. You know it is at the foot of 702 and Stemmers Run in Eastern. Stop on by. You can call ahead 410-682-4828 and order ahead. Give me a little crab update and seafood update. And look, we've all been in so many supermarkets where some have red meat, some don't have any pork, some don't have any chicken, some don't have, none of them have toilet paper. I think you know that, right? And how much Clorox and different products that you have to use in a seafood environment and all of that stuff. Give me a little primer on where we are and where these crabs come from. And honestly, I've noticed this in recent years. Crabs feel like they're more plentiful. It feels like you can get them, and when you're holding them up, maybe it's just because all of my crab partners and many of you make crabs, and they all taste different, but y'all hold them up, and I saw you sorting them the other day, and the ones you were sorting didn't look like jumbo huge ones, but certainly felt like, well, second week of April, I mean, if I want to come over here and get a couple dozen nice, medium to large crabs, I'm not going to have any problem doing that. Let me call like my mom would call right now. Hey, Chad, what are they running? How much they cost? Are they high now, or how they running? Is that good?
That sounds good. They are, they're running good. Mother Nature's the biggest, adversary against us because we're still not getting that real warm weather yet because you need the Bay water to get up to 52 degrees for that crab to start moving.
52? Wow.
Yep. So Maryland crabs are struggling. Everywhere else, Louisiana and all has been good, and we've been getting them, and they're picking back up a little bit more. They had a little dry spell last week, and again, that's why we pull from so many different areas. And looking forward to Maryland really kicking in as soon as we get some warm weather. But Virginia, which is as close as you can get to us, they've had a good amount of crabs. Delaware's starting up now, and Carolina, Louisiana has been pumping out a good amount of crabs to keep us sustained.
So we need warm days. We need global warming to help crabs.
We need Mother Nature to start working with us.
There have been times my wife and I live down at the harbor, and I love to tell my wife this story because we live right across the street. When I was a boy, the first weekend that Harbor Place opened, I walked on the south side by where the Science Center, where Rashfield is, and there were crabs all along the water, and I went down to see the crabs, and I fell in when I was a boy. I was 12 years old, 11 years old, whenever, Harbor Place opened, 80, 81, whatever it was, and, my shoes got wet, my socks, we had to take the number 10 bus to the 23 on a Saturday night. There were 200,000 people at the harbor, and I'm soaking wet and up to my ankles in water, and we walk around the harbor, which the neighborhood I live in, and we look for crabs in the summertime. Sometimes we see them, sometimes we don't. But about 2 summers ago, dude, I saw, the $90 a dozen crabs rolling over by the aquarium, and I know they've put all sorts of stuff in, and I'm hoping to have the aquarium president and CEO on later in a month because we've featured so many of those folks here on Baltimore Positive that, where the crabs are and where they run. I remember when I was a boy crabbing down off of Bear Creek, literally, right where I had Key Brewing on last week, and, just where you could crab in any of those tributaries. For you, and you pick these crabs up, do you ever throw a chicken neck in a water? I mean, do you know where the crabs are even biting in Essex and Dundee Creek or wherever? I don't know. But in the modern era, where crabs come and bite and where someone could have a truck somewhere in Middle River and bringing crabs to you?
Actually, you got, they go out locally around here, but you can see up the bay, which is where we are to consider it the upper bay. You don't see many crabs get down here until, I guess, late July.
100-degree days here, right? Like really.
Yep, the crab will migrate up the bay. But in the beginning, you're looking down the bay. You're staying down by, the Eastern Shore, Deals Island, Tillman's Island, Hooper's Island, Chesapeake Beach. That's where you're seeing a ton of the crabs right now in the early stage of the year.
Nice. Oh, man. See,
I'm
going to get you on later in the summer, and you can educate me from where the crabs are coming from and why they're more expensive or cheaper and, all that stuff, I mean, when the good scallops come in so my wife can work all that up, we can dust them off and fry them all up because, look, man, you sent me home with shrimp the other day, right? And I got to tell you the whole story of the shrimp, okay? My favorite dish in the whole world. And my dear friend Julio, who was at my wedding, and I don't think I've ever had Julio into Al's because he's a little bit more like flying off with us to Korea, as an example. But Julio's one of my best friends, and so Julio makes this shrimp Veracruz that I love so much. And, it's red pepper, green pepper. I shared the video from the baseball tour back in 15. My wife had her Annie hair. She had her curly Q hair at that time. And he took me back into the kitchen like Bourdain, and he showed me how to make it. So you sent me a pound of shrimp home. And by the way, it was a hell of a generous pound. And my wife doesn't eat any shrimp, so I got to eat them all. By the way, how would you freeze them? I have them right now. My wife's screaming at me, freeze those damn shrimps and they don't stink up the place. And because she doesn't love shrimp. Like the ones you gave them to me on Saturday, it's now Tuesday. I should probably freeze them or use them today, right?
Yes.
Okay, or my day gone?
No, you're good. You're good today.
No, I made them yesterday. I made them 2 days in, and I don't have any onions here, so I used let's see, I used red pepper, green pepper. I used a little onion powder, but I mixed in fresh garlic and what's the other things? There's like onions, the little onions. Shallots. So I used shallots, and I used a bunch of spices and tomatoes, and I came very, very close when I added the
shrimp.
No, well, I added the shrimp at the end, and I sort of fire roasted some tomatoes and capers. I added capers at the end, and I flashed it. I'm going to do it again. But, like, bringing home food and learning ways to cook it, man, there's so many, like, videos and, just different chefs sharing recipes. It's amazing what I can come up with bringing home a couple of shrimp or a couple of scallops or some fresh fish, steak fish, whatnot, whatever you have, rockfish, that's fresh, the different ways that I can take a lemon, a caper, and some spices and make things taste delicious. It really is amazing.
You're making me hungry now.
Well, it is. I mean, I am growing as a chef, and I grew I learned a little bit. Probably should have cooked the shrimp another 30 seconds at a higher heat. Probably should have banged the capers in a little earlier. Probably should have added a little more oil to make it a little more wet. But I'm learning, and when's the right time to add the salt or the pepper. But when I get this thing right, I'm going to give it to you, and I want you to add it to the menu because I'm trying to perfect Julio's Shrimp Veracruz, and I'm using the shrimp from Al Seafood to do that.
I'd love to have it. I mean, it sounds delicious. You named everything I like the most.
Well, go look at how they made it out in San Francisco. Go watch the video. Your wife shared it. Your wife thanked me and my wife, and she shared the video of how they make their shrimp Veracruz, and I don't know that I got spice right. I don't know if there's paprika. I mean, he swears to me it's only salt and pepper, but I don't know. I got to cook it a little more or a little differently to figure it out, but I'm working on it. All right, I'm going to cook you got me working. I'm going to get the shrimp together today. I'm going to come down this weekend curbside. Give me a pricing sort of, where are we with crabs right now, Chad?
God, we range anywhere from $2 a crab, 24 a dozen, all the way up to $120 a dozen.
What, as big as me? How big's that crab?
It has to be, for that amount, it has to be the biggest crab that I've seen.
All right.
I mean, my grandfather's a little kid said, there's no way in the world, I don't care if that crab is 12 inches point to point, nobody would ever pay $1 a crab. And now, look, they're paying up to $10 a crab. But to charge that much for a crab, it's got to be that big and it's got to be that heavy.
Dude, I'm going to give you some homework, okay?
Sure.
My wife and I, when we were over in Asia, where we think we got COVID because my wife spent a month in bed in January and tested 3 times negative for the flu. So we're waiting to get one of those tests for her because we think we've had it. You know what I mean? I think I could donate antibodies to save someone in Essex. You know what I mean? So we went over to Tokyo and we went to Seoul into the open markets and the market in Tokyo was the most fascinating. It's called the I always say it wrong, Tsukiji Market in Tokyo. We stayed 6 blocks. Chad, every morning at 8 a.m. we went over there, and we didn't even eat my wife doesn't like fish. You know this, right?
Oh.
But we walked through there. We had beer, we had beef, we had Kobe, I had shrimp. Oh, my God, it was unbelievable. We had vegetables. You got to go watch the video I made of my 5 minutes in the Tsukiji Market in Tokyo. It's up on Facebook. Get together with Ricky, watch it. You can also watch the video of me making the shrimp Veracruz as well. But I want you to watch it because when you see the crab, the shrimp, the seafood that they are selling, it's the world's most famous market. And Chad, it was spotless. It was the cleanest. Wow. You did not smell anything that smelled like seafood or anything weird at all. It was a completely open air market. I don't know how they're dealing with it in the era of COVID because everybody's elbow to elbow. It's Tokyo, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I showed the food, and I want you to see, because you love seafood. You know, you're a seafood guy. I want you to see how beautiful the seafood is. I mean, it really – and then go watch Bourdain do it or watch Zimmern or somebody professional do it and explain what the hell these creatures are that come from the sea. But the Tokyo seafood market, seafood right out of the boat, sushi made on the spot, a line 10 deep, unbelievable, unbelievable. You could go in and get incredible, deep fried Kobe beef on the hot plate, tempura. Oh. I know I'm making everybody hungry.
Yes, I'm real hungry now.
All right, get over to Al's. He gave me shrimp. He'll give you some shrimp. He'll sell you a 6-pack. He's got the booze to go. 2 people in the market at a time. Honor the rules. Stare at Stemmers Run Middle School for a little while, all right?
Well, thank you. And yes, wear your pig pie this weekend and help us, help the cause, help, cancer a little bit.
Pink to support Susan G. Komen all weekend. Curbside pickup. A portion of all sales donated to Susan G. Komen. I said Susan B. Komen. That was Susan B. Anthony. Very nice lady. But we got to hook up Susan G. Komen this weekend. Show your pink pride in Essex. Chad, steam them up, all right? I'm coming in.
You got it. Thank you, then.
You got it. I'm not coming in. I'm lying. I still got a crab cake in the refrigerator that I got to fix up. And I get rid of him, and then I tell him how I take the red peppers and the green peppers, and then I take the celery and I add things, and I completely bastardize every crab cake I've ever gotten from any of my sponsors that serve crab cakes and ship crab cakes, and you know who you are. I terrorize their crab cake when I get it home, and I doctor it up and make it my way. Venezuelan. I don't want to say Dundalk because I don't want to insult anybody, because nobody in Dundalk would treat a crab cake this way. Certainly nobody in Essex. Al's Seafood, 410-682-4828, 1551 Eastern Boulevard, not Avenue. I want to bet my life it's Avenue. I don't know that. Does the Avenue stop at the bridge? I'm going to Google that. Where does Eastern Avenue and Eastern Boulevard change? I've lived there my whole life. My best friend in the whole world grew up on Eastern. We would always call it Eastern Avenue. But I know that it's a boulevard. I'm trying to figure it all out because I really don't know. I'm turning red in my pink because I really don't know the difference. Oh, you know what? If like Regis asked me for $1 million right now, like $1 million, I mean, I could get a lifeline and somebody could look it up on Google, I guess. But if my life depended on it, I think it changes at the bridge. It might change at Mace Avenue. It might change at 21224. I really don't know. I'm really embarrassed by this. I have to Google it. Wow. I'll never be able to run for public office now. I'm shamed. Support Susan G. Komen. Help our friends out. Support all of our local friends in crab cakes. And I'm going to support my kitchen and make some shrimp Veracruz. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST and Baltimore Positive. We're keeping calm. We're staying local. And we're talking to folks like Chad at Al's Seafood.